Ceberus, and hello everyone. I am at my parents' house for the holidays, and I wanted to share with you the Aegis Mini Kit that I just received from Geek Vape. Now, I like this one for a few different reasons, and there's some cons and things I want to address, but in the meantime, wanted to just say brief apologies for kind of being off the radar for the last 3 weeks. Yeah, personal issues, I guess, but nobody cares about all that stuff. So let's go ahead and dive down and look at the actual tank itself. Now, the tank it comes with is called the Cerberus, and let me see if I can find... No, I can't. But anyways, the tank it comes with is called the Cerberus, rather the Hound of Hades, if you guys know the story. So the Hound of Hades was basically like a little pet of Hades, the god of death, to keep the dead in hell, or in Hades, right? Kind of strange, but who knew? So the Cerberus Tank actually is quite cool in my opinion. If you look closely, you'll notice that it comes with a bubble glass as well as a straight glass. I particularly enjoy the straight glass because it looks nice, especially on the Aegis kit. I went ahead and looked at the coil body. I took the coil apart, and because I haven't vaped this tank before, and I was reasonably impressed, if you will, with the very first coil option that I received, which is the mesh. And there's 2 coils in the kit, and they both come with the same 0.35 ohm coil, mesh coil that is. So I pressed it apart to see the insides. In doing so, I realized that the construction of this is actually pretty good. I mean, it's very standardized, if you will, as far as an actual coil is concerned. But with this particular one, I noticed the thread pitch on both the shell's top and bottom, and the thread pitch happens to match a coil, which you may have heard of, called the TF8 Baby. So it does take smoke coils. Now, the smoke coil I got, if you will, is a little bit funky because it has some sort of extra machining bits and things, and the threading isn't the best match, but I will tell you it does match. So if you have a little bit of patience, you can actually get it to thread in and be happy. I thought that was kind of interesting, just something that was fun. In case you don't have their coils, which by the way I do like, then you have the full gamut. Yeah. You have the full gamut of the smoke coils to use, the baby coils, that is. Looking towards the mod, there's always going to be pros and cons, and I'll give you those. But with this specifically, right, I liked the Aegis, right? And then they have the Aegis Legend, which is the 2-battery one. When I saw this, in my mind, it just kind of went, finally, you guys went ahead and did what I and other manufacturers were looking at the time, the Aegis, going, it's too big for what it is. Make a baby version. Now, they've done it, and I love what they've done with it. So, of course, it has the Aegis aesthetics, which I like, especially this color. I'm kind of a nerd for that. But the cool thing is that it still has all of its, you know, rugged appearance, so to speak, its rugged abilities with the water resistance and the shock proof and all that sort of thing. But, you know, and of course, this rubber cover and all that. But what they've done is they've made something that's really quite small, obviously short, but they've made it wide. I've made, personally, as well as products from Joytech, etc., we've made single battery 18650 devices that are really quite small with a board. Now, to show you a comparison, rather, the 18650 does line up very close to the mod body. You know, it's really quite similar. So if you were to have an 18650 plus a 510, you really wouldn't have that much room more height-wise. But as I mentioned, they've gone ahead and made the diameter of this thing quite significant, and significant enough to the point where you can actually put a 27-ish millimeter atomizer diameter on this thing. I don't necessarily think you need that, though, because the higher diameter coils and bigger things that you're going to need more power. This caps out at 80 watts, which is plenty, I think, for most uses, especially because of how small and pocketable it is. You typically would run, you know, obviously the Cerberus Tank, or you would run something, you know, like this, like an MTL style. Well, I'll be doing a review on this soon. Shout out to Cthulhu Mods for this one. But yeah, so it is very much a kind of an all-day pocketable, reasonable vape. Best option possible? Well, it depends. This is not a removable 18650, as many of you guys have. I mean, this isn't necessarily new, but it's been out for a little bit. It's an internal battery. They are claiming somewhere in the range of like what an 18650 would be, which is about 200 milliamps, somewhere in there. I don't see how that's possible. DJ LSP, Daniel, and he said that the capacity on this is just right around that 1700 mark. I'm not entirely mad at that because, again, if this is a 2,000 milliamp battery, that makes quite a bit of sense. You know, that you have to have something at least a little bit shorter than that. Depends on, you know, again, what kind of quality batteries they ended up using or what have you. I don't have any equipment here, especially to test that sort of thing, so I am going to defer to Daniel's video, which I trust him, so hi, Daniel. Yeah, again, I haven't taken this apart, and so for those of you screaming at me in the comments right now going, take it apart, Jay! They only gave me 3 of them. I've got one, and this is my favorite color. I don't want to necessarily rip apart another one and destroy it just for the sake of. I may do. We'll see. But I definitely did want to have at least 1, if not 2, for a giveaway because I like it and I want you guys to at least have a chance to get some. But yeah, so that's the thing. I'm arguing with myself at this point because typically I will jump into this thing, I'll rip it all apart and show you all the insides. I'm resisting it only because I know how these are put together, and they are absolutely brimming at the seams with sealant and glues, and this is a rubber outside coating and the inside is going to be very, very, you know, I don't want to destroy it. I can take it apart, but it will never work the same again, and it definitely won't be as rugged or at least as water resistant as it is now. So if you guys really, really want me to tear one apart, fine. Go in the comments and do like a little ×1 or something to tell me to take it apart. But in the meantime, this has got some cool little kit to it. The big, so again, with Westmec and all that stuff, when we had these types of boards, it's all firmware upgradable stuff on ours anyways. It's got temperature control, bypass mode, TCR. This has got it all as well. Cool thing that this can do, I guess, is that you can adjust your brightness. So if you hold the fire button and either up or down, you can adjust the brightness itself of the screen, which I like because this is a fixed battery size. Again, you don't have the ability to change an 18650. So whatever you're vaping on, especially if it's an MTL, you're going to be at low wattage, you now have the ability rather to control how much power that brightness is using. Screen is using, how much power the screen is using by changing the brightness. There we go, get the whole thought out at once. This is really cool because again, the only thing on the mod other than your vaping coils and things is going to be the screen being mostly on or at least draining the battery constantly. Same with your phone. So having the ability to reduce the amount of actual power usage I think is an amazing pro. So well done there. And one thing I don't necessarily enjoy about this is that the board is incredibly sensitive. Now, if you have a coil that has anywhere near a nickel content, whether it's nichrome or something else, or even a temperature control coil rather, but as you heat cycle the coil, the resistance is going to fluctuate a tiny amount. And this is an incredibly sensitive device. Negative. I am used to 5-clicking, locking the device, putting it in my pocket, and going about my day. And then so when I come out, 5-click on, and take a vape. Well, this for me has a huge con, not a huge con. Am I overplaying it? I think I'm overplaying it, but still I'm gonna go with it. Huge con in the sense that if the coil fluctuates 1/100th, right? Not even a 10th, 100th of a resistance point, this board will go, new coil, you know, and I have to sit there and go yes or no or whatever it is, and then I can vape. So pulling this out of the pocket, 5-click on, push the fire button, and you kind of go, what the hell is, oh, right, new coil or old coil, whatever it is, and then go about your day. So I really don't like that just because it's one of those like safety feature type things that are now getting in the way. I think if it was sensitive to the point where it was moving 1/10, so if you had a 0.2 ohm coil and now it's a 0.28, that's not a 10th, but you know, if it went from like 0.20 to 0.21 or something like that, a large chunk or 0.2 of an ohm, then it would actually, you know, be sensitive enough to go, is this a new coil or is it not? There's enough fluctuation there for it to be functional. This thing is way too sensitive, I think. So what I've found I'm doing is I'm just not locking it, which I don't like to do. And you can actually double click the up and down buttons to lock your resistance. Again, this is when you're in temperature mode, but it can actually lock the fire button as well. So not a huge fan of that, and in fact, I think that's probably the biggest sort of con of this device, other than, of course, this being rubber, so when you do put it in your pocket, you want to pull it out quickly, it sort of like sticks, and you're like dragging your pocket out with the coil, with the mod, so your kind of pocket, you know, stuffs up a bit, or it gets full of lint and garbage like that. I guess the pro is that you can just take a wet cloth or whatever it is and wipe it down or put it under the sink if you really want to. I like the top cap. Now, everyone today is doing the push tops, which I also very much love, as you can tell, because we did it one of the first people to do it, I think, the push top. But now everyone's sort of doing it as a standard, which is fine. But this is a 2-pin lock, you know, cam rotation, where as you rotate it about a quarter turn even, you know, it reduces its own height within like a 0.5 mil to 1 mil. And so that actually gives you quite a bit of positive lock on the top of that seal. Now, the reason I like being able to take the top cap off is because this is a mesh coil. You will be filling this pretty often. And the way they've actually cut the top cap on this on the inside is they've left you only just the tiniest, thinnest little bit of metal holding the centerpiece in place. And I actually like this because when you go ahead and stick your juice bottle in there, you know, for example, superb, when you're using your superb juice, any particular direction you fling it, you actually now have a vent out the other side. So it's very, very uncommon for you to be able to, you know, back up a little air bubble and actually overflow the tank, which you can do on the push tops just because the openings aren't hugely different. These are easy because there's no channel for an air bubble to actually bind. It's way too open underneath. So huge pro there. The way this is machined actually looks really clean. I don't foresee you having any real issues with this over time. There's no real parts to wear, and if it does wear off, you're still going to have positive lock because the way that channel is run. And of course, they give you extra, you know, top seals and things just in case you do catch and tear and whatever it is. And these come out pretty easily. They just pop out, you know, get your little fingernail up underneath there and rip that out. Potential silicone, I guess. I don't know. The machining on the tank is lovely, but the machining on the tank is also very rough in the sense that there's not a whole lot of finishing cuts. So I'll see if I can show this up in the close-ups a little bit, but there's a particular edge on the top and bottom of the air ring, and again on the top cap here, that will actually catch a little bit of skin. So if you're actually going onto this thing and really trying to put some force to rotate this off of a mod or whatever, if it does get stuck, just be mindful. It may scratch you a little bit on your skin, but yeah, outside of that, guys, I'm not really mad at anything on this kit. Outside of course, the new coil, old coil, up down annoyance, because I think that's completely useless in my own opinion. Sorry, guys. And by the way, I must mention, as I said before, they made it quite large in diameter. Now what this does is it's small, but it fills your hand, so it actually feels like you have a positive grip on what you're doing. Like I said, we made 18650 mods, single battery with a chip, and we made them as small as physically possible. And the potential downside there is you end up kind of having to like crimp your hand a certain way to actually get some grip on it. This thing, as I mentioned, fills the hand beautifully, and I actually prefer this that way. It's like the little bump is where the middle finger would go, and then your ring finger and your index finger kind of fit in these little divots here, and then that lines you up perfectly for the thumb fire. Maybe I'm weird. I do both, but this particular one, I immediately grabbed and was like, ooh, it feels nice, and of course the rubber and everything, it gives you a nice, I don't know, it's an affirmative feel. It's like, I've got positive lock on this, I'm not going to drop it, it feels nice. The rubber it makes the mod not cold. Nobody needs to know all this. It's just something that I noticed when I picked it up. Yeah, the 510 on this thing is absolutely massive. I love that it's actually bolted in. I've tried unbolting these and pulling to see if it would come loose. Again, this thing is full of sealant and glue, and if you really want me to take one apart, I will, but it will absolutely destroy it. Just warning you. So, possibility, but I'll do a separate video for that. I won't muddle this one up. Huge pros, compatibility with the smoke coils. Huge pros, its durability, etc. Huge pros, the size. This thing fires really fast. I don't know if it's the mesh alone, because on mine, when I'm doing this, there's a little bit of a ramp up because of the coils I'm using, I guess, brown wire and all that. But with these exact mesh coils that it comes with, it cooks. So definitely kind of, if you're one of those people that pushes the button out here and then goes in for the hit, it'll be really warm by the time it gets to your face. So I would recommend kind of, you know, planting it and then doing the click and breathe at the same time, just to mitigate the initial hit that this thing provides for you. So that's all, guys. I can't think of anything else I want to talk about, I don't think. This was a fun one. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good Christmas with your loved ones this season. If I don't see you until actual Christmas, Merry Christmas to everybody. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, bell, comment, all of the above. And we'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye. What? Oh.